Welcome to Fear No Evil. And the evil that I'm still speaking about are the child sexual abuse allegations that are in the mainstream media. There are so many allegations against so many men that it's even hard to grasp what woman goes with what accusation. And I find it incredibly entertaining, really, and frustrating to listen to people interview other people when it comes to child sexual abuse allegations. I just listened to an interview with Poppy Harlow having an interview with one of the women from the Roy Moore campaign. First of all, Poppy wouldn't let her speak. Poppy never lets anybody speak if they're conservative. But the conservatives are getting onto their game right now. They just speak because they know that if they don't, that when they're being interviewed, what they say will be silenced. The last people that they're going to silence in America are the child sexual abuse survivors who have the courage and the willingness to speak out. Why? Because silence is an enemy to us. Silence is what allowed the sexual abuse to occur. And even when other people knew, their silence reinforced our own silence. And so there are a lot of children and a lot of adults who lived in the silence. That is why child sexual abuse is called a silent crime. The silence of it all is the enemy. So Poppy Harlow, if you're really going to interview people on the conservative side having to do with Roy Moore, you need to let them speak. Now, she tried to bring out the allegations that Lee had of child molestation against Roy Moore. And we're constantly hearing how credible these women are. Poppy, who are you? Who are you all to say that what they're saying is credible? You don't know if it's credible or not. You're not a judge. You're not a jury. You're not a courtroom. And so, again, the statute of limitations needs to be removed for sexual abuse survivors because they may not remember that abuse until 20 years down the road. And at that point in time, they should get a day in court. And if the perpetrator is found guilty, they need to pay for any counseling, whatever it takes for that survivor to get their feet back up on the ground, because society has no clue what happens to a child sexual abuse victim and what it occurs in their life. They are never the same again. Never. Never the same. From a child all the way to death, they are not the same. And in the middle of all that, we lose a lot of survivors through suicide. Now, I understand that part of people pushing against Roy Moore is that he is pro-choice. He is for our Second Amendment. He is against the LGBT. There's where his fire is coming from. The LGBT is pushing a lot of this. But the LGBT needs to understand they're not going to silence sexual abuse survivors. And the LGBT, if they're going to come to the table and want to have a stake in morality, then they need to make known the fact that the statistics show that many LGBT members are also sexual abuse survivors. So the LGBT have no right coming to any other sexual abuse survivor and telling them to shut up. Why? Because you're doing exactly what the perpetrators did to them when they were children. And just because you have your own political agenda, you have no right to try to tell any other sexual abuse survivor they cannot come to the table and offer an opinion. Your opinions will not be forced upon any sexual abuse survivor. And Poppy Harlow needs to do a little research on sexual abuse before she goes spouting off as if she knows about it. You're throwing out stereotypes. You have no clue if Lee is telling the truth. We do not have to believe all the women. We're talking about child sexual abuse. We are talking about sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is still abuse. Therefore, anyone who has ever been sexually violated by any man or any woman, because women sexually abuse as well. So how incredible we're having this huge conversation in society. However, we are unable to understand that women abuse too. Sexual abuse occurs with both genders. It doesn't matter your education level. It doesn't matter your position in society. There is no one face of a child molester. So every time I hear someone say, "Is this the face of a child molester?" You have no clue. The bum in the trailer park, and I don't mean that all bums live in trailer parks, but the person who's living in a trailer park that many people in society feel is no good, especially on certain sectors of our society, if he's a molester, he's no different than the CEO of a great big tech company. Both could be child molesters, both could be pedophiles. It doesn't matter. What makes you a pedophile or a child molester mainly is whether you've been sexually abused yourself as a child. Now, again, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused in this country before the age of 18. Those statistics only show the reports of allegations that are reported. That doesn't show all the allegations that go unreported. Therefore, that's a lot of kids. And a lot of those kids have grown to be adults. And again, the United States is number 5 on the list of the most sexual abuse allegations. Number 5. So America, don't act like you know what you're talking about, because you're number 5 on the list. So those who haven't been sexually abused, why don't you listen to those who have been? And those who have been sexually abused, we take our own routes to healing. And it doesn't always include the psychological community, because they themselves don't always know how to deal with sexual abuse. Because if we knew how to deal with this, it wouldn't be such a facet of decay in our country. Our country is decaying because of all the abuse that goes on, that nobody wants to talk about, that nobody wants to analyze, that people just want to show one side of the story and shut other people up. That's not going to work. Because sexual abuse occurs whether you're a liberal or a conservative, a libertarian, don't vote at all. Doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter your age. Even babies get sexually abused. So that's great. We want to have this conversation. We got all these men coming out, but it's not all the truth of it all. Not at all. And the LGBT, you definitely don't get a monopoly on the conversation when it comes to child sexual abuse until you yourselves can explain why you have so many sexual abuse survivors in your own community.